Alright, I think we're ready to elaborate into the next level of getting into the macrobiotic diet that is conducive to longevity through eating the whole grains, the squash, vegetable predominant diet, with an assimilation process that is very user friendly. Your body is less burdened by organ function when you're eating the right foods and assimilating them properly, because it goes into that system and returns us to the infinity, which is knowledge of ourself, reality, which in turn gives us the knowledge of how to really understand how food should be prepared and cooked and everything. So this is something that, in order to be proficient, you need to develop or already have an aptitude for these things. So the next levels that we're going to get to have to do with the levels of dissension that I mentioned concerning this Japanese integration of philosophy into American, translated by Misio Kushi, and with his books on macrobiotics, which are pretty broad. You can go to used bookstores and find them. This is the 9 levels of dissension. We have the portal at the top that I explained before. The memory is contained in this food we discussed, kind of like a DNA kind of understanding of something in a grain. I mean, through mastication, you're able to release the memory that's in the whole grain. The reason it must be whole is because we need a whole understanding of how to properly cook and eat food. Otherwise, we're going to have a partial reality, which would be a virtual reality. Restoring our relationship with the creative force has to do with the food we eat. Food contains the memory required for ascension and dissension. Okay, so this polarity that's created up here when we make the decision to be or not to be. I would like to be in alignment with nature via the foods that I'm preparing properly and eating. Okay, or not to be. That's where the partial concept comes in. So 5, fire releases the memory of the food. Cooking over a flame is very important. If you have to cook on electrical, I don't see a problem with it in transition until you can either get gas or preferably firewood, because we're actually laying hold on 2012. We're understanding the archaic diet and things like that, Paleolithic diets. They're all consistent with a macro incorporation. Macrobiotics is simply a transliteration of a word that means in Japanese. I mean, how many words do they have for proper eating and longevity practices? So, we don't want to get all into that right now. Light allows us to see and become conscious. The sun gives illumination to the ocean, which essentially is at the point of after we make this decision, we create a polarity. This direction's going one way, this direction's going the opposite way. Okay, like a magnet, when you hold it one here and one here on the opposite side, that energy that's in the middle, the energy here, is essentially the same energy that we have in the electrical field of our body. So when we answer this question, we're essentially starting a vibrational force that creates harmony in the body through this process. I never thought it was going to come down to food. I thought it was going to be some kind of archaeological or religious find, in Samaria, wherever. But essentially, I think it's really coming down to food. All we are is a result of what we have thought is a Buddhist belief that states that we are creating our reality quantum physically. So after light, the vibration becomes light. The sun the sun is created, which is a symbol internally of like an inner creation, because we've started the process of creation in our life. The sun becomes gas, and that's where that interesting interaction of different elements coming together miraculously. Gas turns to clouds, and the liquid from those clouds becomes solid. So we get the earth, which is essentially, in the Hopi drawings, it's like the center of pretty much everything. Okay, so this spiral is a pulsation that occurs not unlike a galaxy in a spiral form. Go figure. Like, how far down the rabbit hole do you want to go? But so when you come down to the earth through liquid descending from gas, you have a liquid, a rain, which becomes snow. It can become many different forms. So this process is actually occurring in the canon of man that I drew for us right on the spot, kind of thing, just to have an outline, a diagram. Okay, so the spiral you see that goes into the blood there has to do with this process that happens in our body. I mean, if people don't realize that the irreducible complexity of the human body, I need to go